Welcome to 10-Minute Expert. Today I'm going to be using ChatGPT to create VMs in AWS using Terraform code. So ChatGPT will write all the code. I'll just create files and cut and paste the results of my questions to ChatGPT and of course run the Terraform commands to see what happens. The plan is to get the following from ChatGPT.
Using Terraform. So create one or more VMs in AWS to my specific requirements, add ingress for port 22, add an SSH key so I can log in, add a variable file to build any number of VMs, give each VM a name in AWS so I can identify it from the AWS console, and then an output, so after Terraform has run, I get the private and the public IP address of each VM that is created. So let's get started.
So the first question is just write me some code that does this stuff. So the region is Paris, Ubuntu 2004, we've given it the AMI instance, and it writes the code out. Nice and simple, not a lot to it. It's done the provider, the resource, and some user data. So now I'm going to copy that into my server, create a main.tf file, cut and paste information in. To set Terraform up, I've already installed it, but for this particular project, we need to do a Terraform init. That then just makes sure that it's got the initialized plugins that it needs to use. Then we're going to run the version, so we can see we're using the latest version available as of today. And then we're going to run Terraform plan. So Terraform plan gives an output of what Terraform is going to be doing. So it's just a plan to build one. It's got our AMI and T2 instance in there, and then everything else will be known once the server has been built. Then Terraform apply. You have to say yes when you do apply. It will start creating the VM. In a second, we'll check in the management console, and you'll see that the VM gets created. I just have to quickly remove one of my filters, and then it will appear. Ignore the terminated one. So we're looking at the running server, and we can see that that's finished. This is slightly speeded up. This won't be quite as quick for you, but we can see that that's happened. And we're now ready for the next question, which is to include port 22 ingress from anywhere. So let's get on with that. So again, cut and paste the question straight in. And this will iterate on the script. So it will now provide the same script, but this time with additional information in for the port 22. So it's now recreating the script. It's adding in the resource to add the ingress for port 22 for us, which is good. Once this finishes, we'll do the usual. We'll just copy it across into our main.tf on the Linux server. Run Terraform apply. This will then add the resource in, and I'll show you once it's completed. I can show you that in the security rules. Okay, take yeah, you can see it's going to add it. Take yes, it's very quick. It's just adding the security group. Clicking on the server and look at the security groups, we can see that there it is, example, which is exactly what we wanted. So let's try and log in. It won't let us because we don't have an SSH key, but what it will do is connect. So that's connected, and that's exactly what we want. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to create an SSH key, but we're going to tell Terraform that we want to update the SSH key by copying over one that we're going to generate, called example, onto our server. So let me just clear the file, and then we come back. We can see there that it's using the example key name, which is great. So we'll cut this code in as before, and then we'll manually create an SSH key called example in the same directory. So I'll use this command, no passkey, and that's it. So now we do Terraform apply. What this will do is, because it's an update, it will, there you can see the SSH key there, it will destroy the server, but then recreate it with the key attached, which is absolutely fine for us. So first of all, it has to destroy it, and then once it's destroyed it, it will recreate. Okay, there it is, pending. And to end this section, what we'll do is we'll quickly log in using the SSH key to the new IP address to prove that connectivity is now there. So that's good. Let's grab the IP, SSH in as a Ubuntu user. There we go, we're in, all good. Have a quick look around. Uptime, DF, lovely. We're on our next server. So now we can look to do the next update. Yeah, so the next update is going to be adding a variable to manage the number of servers I want to build. So this is quite a good feature. It means that you can sort of change a number from 1 to 10, and it will build 10 VMs instead of 1. And it's just a really good way of seeing how variables work in Terraform. So let's add the question in. So it should be quite a relatively simple thing. So I'm going to add the variables.tf file. I'm going to cut and paste that variable and that code in. And then we utilize the variable in the code. So we have to change the resource. We'll just cut and paste that resource info out and replace what's in the file already. So there we go. We can see it's using the server count for the amount of servers that we want to build. So if we do a plan, because we've already got one and it's set to 1, we don't get anything back. That's absolutely fine. And we can also use variables from the command line when we run Terraform apply if you want. That's an extra option. So now if we update the variable and we make it just 2 instead of 1, when we rerun Terraform plan, we will see that it's going to build an extra server. And then, so our server will grow to 2. So now we're going to add in a name. I want to know which one, like server 1 or server 2. So I want it to get the name variable added into the AWS name. So yeah, it's explaining how it will do it. Yeah, so it's updating the code. So now again, we just use this. So this is actually wrong, but we'll let it make a mistake and then we'll fix it. So there's no name resource there's no name in that resource. So when we do a plan, we're going to see this error and it says there's an unsupported argument name. So what we can do, we don't know what the problem is. So we put this error back into ChatGPT and say, I got this error. What do I do? So let's do that now. And it should go, yes, that argument isn't allowed. Let me use the Terraform one. So let me put that in. Yes, apologize. Some resource types in Terraform don't support the name. And it tells you what to do. So we go back in, we take out name, and it changes it from name to tags. So now we just put that tag section in instead. So let's copy that in. So now the name in AWS in the console will then change, become server 1 or server 2. So now if we do a Terraform apply, what we'll do is we'll see the update here. So server 1 and server 2. Brilliant. So that's exactly what we want. Now on to the next step. So the final step is to make the Terraform code output the server IP addresses, and this includes the internal and the public IP address. So Terraform has an output module, and you can use that to output information from what you've built. So we ask ChatGPT how to do this, and it gives us a quick update to the code. And I'm going to ask it in a minute if it has to be in the main or if we can have a separate file. So there's the output and how it looks like. And we ask it if it can be in its own file. And it just says, yeah, stick it in outputs.tf. So we create the outputs.tf file. We put the code in as it stands. It gives a lot of information here about having files in separate places. If we try and run Terraform Output, it doesn't work. But if we do the apply and we kick it off, there we go. We've got the private and the public IP addresses. So let's just test this out. Let's just try and SSH to each of those public IP addresses with the Ubuntu user and the SSH key that we set up earlier. So that one's on, and this one we haven't logged into before, but we'll do that now. Just get the IP address. Brilliant, and we're on. So what we've done today is we've created VMs, we've added the port 22, we've added an SSH key, we've added a variable file, we've extended it and given it the VM name in AWS in the console, we've added an output file to get public and private IP addresses. So this is just a really good overview of what ChatGPT can do. I didn't have to code any of this. ChatGPT did it all. So give it a go for yourself. Let me know what projects you're working on, and yeah, just have some fun with it. And I'll see you in the next video. Cheers.